So, manifestation. I'm going to be talking about manifestation today. Why we don't end up with the things we want. Why we think we're manifesting and then our experience shows us something very different. So, in this live today, I'm going to be discussing this. I'm going to be discussing the groundbreaking work of Dolores Cannon and how all these things tie together. So I want to welcome you to this live. You might be watching live or you might be watching the replay. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I've had circumstances where I've done this and sound has been off. And I always find it challenging because I'm looking at a camera and I can't see what is going on. So I'm trusting, and I'm just going to quickly check that it is working okay. Great. I'm glad I'm doing that. We've got some people joining live. I've got to come up with a better way of being able to see your interaction and my thing, so I'm working on it. Some of you may have seen on my YouTube feed in my community section that on the 22nd, which is tomorrow in the US, and it's on Sunday here in Australia, that I have a past life regression workshop. It's live. We always do these every few months or so, and we generally get a great turnout. People often say to me, and I get these in the comments on YouTube, I want to experience Dolores Cannon's method, but I can't get to have an in-person session with a practitioner because QHHT can only be done in person. However, Dolores, in all of her brilliance, developed also, in addition to QHHT, a group regression workshop that can be facilitated and practiced live online. So that means you can join us on the weekend. You can find in my bio or at pwilliamsofficial.com, the link to register. But I will, when this is recorded, I will put it into the chat so you can easily find that. We've got about 5 or so spots left. I like to cap them so that everyone gets an opportunity to share if they have questions. If the groups are too big, we can't do that. So it's important that we keep them relatively intimate. So I think we've got about 5 spots left. So hope to see you there. And if you miss out, if you get a sold out sticker or sign, you can register your interest and you can do the next one. Manifestation. This is a really big area that there's a lot of confusion around about. And I get lots of comments, lots of questions. I get concerns from the clients I work with. Paul, why am I not attracting into my life the things that I desire? And it's a great question. I think we all have this come up at one time or another. It might be a relationship where you're desperately trying to meet that right person. It could be around your career, feeling stuck, not able to get life flowing in the direction you want to go, noticing that all of the hopes and desires and goals that you've got, they're not showing up in your experience. And yet even sometimes seeing the reverse manifest rather than what you want. My view on manifestation, the most important component to any manifestation is that we are clear about what we want. And when I have conversations with a lot of people about this subject, they're not really sure what that is. You know, they might have an idea that they want to attract a relationship in their life, but you can get a relationship in your life, but what kind of relationship do you want? Do you want someone that's going to match your vibration? Do you want someone that's going to match you energetically? Do you want someone that is going to complement you? And yet we fail so often to articulate and make clear what we want from the universe. And so therefore, we are the ones that create our own delays, our own blockages, our own hindrances. You see, we live in a compassionate universe, and the universe or life isn't withholding anything from you. In fact, it is there to help, assist, and mirror back to you your state of consciousness. And often we are confused about what we want. We're not clear about it. We've got a feeling or a sensation going on internally about what we think we want, and yet we fail to make that known to the universe. It was Dolores Cannon that spoke a lot in her books about asking for help. And I feel this in my own life. Up until recently, I wasn't asking enough for help. You know, I was trying to do certain things on my own, in my own strength, in my own ability, in my own wisdom and knowledge that I had acquired through life. And I forgot to really invite in and ask for help. You see, we live in a free will universe, and unless we are consciously articulating and asking, they can't interfere. But in saying so, when we ask, when we give our permission, and we welcome them in and we ask, they are readily and able to assist. In fact, they want to assist. Now I'm referring to your guides, your angels, them. The Dolores Cannon kind of coined that phrase, them. She said they don't really have a name anyway. We like to give labels to things. And so we give them guides, guardians, highest self. I call it the highest self. It's that highest aspect of who you are beyond form. Some people will call it the higher self. Once again, it doesn't matter what we call it. It's referring to the same thing. So being clear about what you want, sending out to the universe this sense of clarity and a knowingness, then it can align and match with that vibration. You see, the universe is not responding so much to your words. The universe is predominantly reacting to your vibration. Everything is energy. Everything is vibrating at a particular frequency and energy. Science validates this concept. Everyone from Einstein to, from, in spiritual terms, Dolores Cannon pointed to this in her books, is that everything is energy, everything is vibrating at a particular frequency, including you. If you're down, if you're negative, you're vibrating at a particular frequency. If you're positive, if you're in joy, in peace, you're vibrating at a particular frequency. So we're all emitting frequencies all the time. Now, does that mean we're stuck in a particular frequency? I'm feeling bad today. That's my reality. No, we oscillate between different levels of vibration all of the time. And of course, you're going to have your challenging times. You're not going to feel great some days. But I call it a foundation level. And often you'll go up and you'll go down. But we generally have this foundational level that we find ourselves at. And that is the accumulation of your beliefs, your thoughts, what you've believed about yourself. Joe Dispenza points to it as the collective conditioning of your human consciousness, which is basically at a round about 35 years of age. gets pretty solidified at that point of life. However, those of us that are conscious always have this ability to practice what science now deems a new understanding of the brain and how the brain works, is neuroplasticity, this ability for the brain to rewire itself to begin to create new neural pathways in the brain. You see, the mind creates our reality. The consciousness creates our reality. So many of us believe that we are subject to the conditions of our life. And yet there are those that stand up in the face of adversity, those that stand up in the face of challenge, those that stand up and against all of the hurdles that they've faced. And they define the odds, they overcome, they heal from the sickness, they surprise the doctors. I think it takes responsibility to accept that we create our reality. If that's a good reality, if it is a bad reality, if that is an indifferent reality. But we do create. We create by our vibration, we create by our words, and with time and a belief, that becomes solidified, and that becomes what we call our life, our personalized life. So my question to you is, if you do not like what has been created for you, then the good news is you have the opportunity to change it. How do I change it, Paul? How do I get the things I want? How do I manifest? How do I do that? Number one, you need to be clear what you want. You need to be really clear to yourself first and foremost. What is it that you want? What does that perfect career look like? What does it look like for you to have those relationships? What kind of relationships are they? The friendships that you desire. You know, I'll share a story with you. I was one of these people, I'm sure not the only one, that for many years would say, I'm different, nobody likes me, I'm a bit strange, I don't know how to communicate with people, people don't vibe with me. I believe that so much, and I hid behind this persona of shyness, of saying, well, I'm just not a social person. And particularly during the early years of my own awakening, you might call it, I came to the conclusion that I was comfortable reading the books on my own and meditating and doing all my spiritual practice in solitude. And I would even reference monks that would do this and think I was going down that road of solitude. And really, when I questioned that belief that I had decided for myself, I worked out that it really wasn't who and what I was. It was something that I was creating and believing because of what Joe Dispenza talks about, that neuro pathway that had been created through situations, circumstances, and repetition through the years. So I made a decision. I said, the universe is all about giving back. And I've been blessed with this understanding, this healing, this knowledge. And I had a conversation one day where I felt like someone really benefited from what I had to share, from the knowledge I had acquired. And it got me thinking. I thought, if I was different, I could be a help to other people. I could connect better with other people, but I had to change my belief. I had to change what I believed about myself, is that I didn't connect, that people did have something to learn from what I had to teach. And maybe that's been your story. Maybe that's been your narrative that you've said to yourself. Maybe it's that you're unlovable. Maybe it's that you're not attractive enough or young enough, or you don't communicate well enough. Whatever is your personal narrative, we all come to that internally. I challenge you today, as you're listening to my words, is that who you want to be? Or do you have an idea that you can be different? You see, we get to choose. You know, I no longer buy into this idea that there are shy people and there are extroverted people, and some people can do certain things and some can't. I believe in the human ability, in the human spirit, that we can create what our heart's desire is. And you might say, well, I don't agree with that. But you know, I've seen so many people that I have worked with personally. I've read numerous books about people that have overcome the odds, have pushed past tremendous hurdles, and found themselves to be more able than other people. I'll share this as well. I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was really young, and I was told that I was stupid. And this is back years ago in the 80s when I grew up. And that, you know, I had a learning disability. I'd never make it. And, you know, in this time, sitting right here in front of you, I have learnt ways to read differently, to consume content differently, to write emails differently. I've used tools, I've researched different ways to be. And it's only now recently that once deemed a disability is now being viewed as a sought after ability. And I reference a mainstream article in the BBC that said that certain companies now actively recruit dyslexic people for the unique ability to add value to companies, and they actively recruit it. Maybe you've been told that you don't have what it takes. Maybe you've been told that you're not good enough, and you've believed that. It is only your belief in that has created that for you. You see, it was my belief in my dyslexia. It was my belief in my lovability. It was my belief in all of my lack and limitation that created that in my experience. No one has the power to stop another individual. It's only when those words are received and then acted upon. I had people hurt me in my early life growing up, and I held on to resentment and blame for years, believing that they had put me in that predicament and I'd missed all these opportunities. And when I took probably one of the most famous quotes that the great Wayne Dyer shared is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When I realized that for myself and said, I can change, I can redefine, I can see this differently. And then all of a sudden, when I took my power back, when I realized that I could redefine what had happened perceivably to me, I could turn that around and say that happened for me, for my spiritual growth, for my evolutionary growth, for my understanding about the human condition. And yet I now draw upon that as an illustration to share with you today, and the many clients that I work with, and the many people that I speak to, and all of the conversations I have, to share that liberating thing for me. And if I can do that, you can do that. Dolores Cannon always advocated that healing happens when we get to the root of a particular issue or problem. And our mainstream institutions, particularly the medical institution, are trained. And specifically, I heard this from someone that was a facilitator in a medical school. They are trained to kill disease. That is the training that a physician or doctor or surgeon have. So at the causal level, it's ignored. They target the disease, the cancer, the infection. And yet Dolores Cannon thought very differently in her method, and that is to go to the causal level. What has caused that in the first place? So she developed over 45 years a hypnosis regression technique that is designed to go to the root cause of an issue, an ailment, a problem, a disease, an emotional pattern, etc., and deal with it at the causal level. And that is what regression work and therapy and QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, is all about. Getting to the root cause. Now, she found through the many years of the work, surpassing 45 years, that not always in this particular life, in the life that she was working with the individual, was that where the problem started. And she found through regression, when people would go into a past life, that maybe in the past life a fatal blow or wound may have occurred. Someone may have drowned, and then that affects, she called it a cell imprint that imprints, the cell memory that imprints into what we call this incarnation. So to get to the causal thing and release it. Now, I work with many different people. Sometimes the issue is from childhood. Sometimes it's through a relationship that broke down and then the trauma is formed. But yet sometimes it comes from a different life. This is why past life regression is so important. This is why I'm one of Dolores Cannon's practitioners, one of her many practitioners that practice and continue her legacy by sharing her method. Because I know that it works. And I've seen numerous miraculous breakthroughs and miracles occur through people getting to that causal area, dealing with that in a loving environment, in a supportive environment, and then releasing what no longer serves them. If you've got something in your life, it might be a illness, it could be a emotional block, it could be anything that you feel is preventing you, and you've not done Dolores Cannon's QHHT, or it differs, her group online regression. I highly encourage you. On the 22nd, which is on Saturday in the US, the 23rd here in Australia, Saturday and Sunday, I'm holding a live past life Dolores Cannon regression. If you haven't signed up for that, I highly encourage you to do so if you want to come on this healing journey. Now, as I said, spots are limited, so if it does sell out, then you can jump on the next one, which will probably happen in 2 or 3 months' time. Remember that you have so much more to give. And I always close every time I share with this affirmation I've made my own. I want you to do the same for you. That the best is yet to come. And that means that your best days, your most blessed days are ahead of you. And that you can manifest. It starts by a belief, which is a vibration. That is words spoken out. And you're telling the universe what you want.